Hello. Well met, friend.
The Office of Divine Prosecution
Newcomer,
seeks
are
a
you ready to
temporary
administer
botanical
justice?
assistant.
Ah, another ephem. Ever since the Queen's decree, I can't take 3 steps without bumping into someone who... Assignment very... In accordance with our current regulations, each deputized citizen may accept a single contract from each justiciar every day. You are encouraged, of course, to check back regularly for new assignments. Very well. I hereby go speak to Farrell.
Did you come here for crafting certification? You here for crafting certification?
Eyes polished amber, hair swept like a comet's tail, soul alive with love and joy under pregnant golden sail. My star-eyed bride of
You would challenge me to a duel. How droll. But then how can we have a... Learn the rules and challenge me properly. Then I'll teach you some manners.
I'm supposed to be guiding some dignitaries to Wellington Cove, but the fools are late. The last time this happened, they were all hungover. Do you know how hard it is to stalk Springbok when everyone's vomiting?
That gutless high elf, because I'm not an idiot. Guards see an orc thumping the ears off an elf in the middle of the street. You know how that turns out. Thought if I challenged him to a duel, we could make it legal. But he won't fight unless I challenge him properly. Oh, how in oblivion would I know? These elves have rules for everything. How to eat, how to sleep. Of course they've got rules about how to beat each other up. Say, you wouldn't be interested in helping me figure this out, would you? I appreciate the help. Trust me, this is a noble cause. First things first, you'll need to track Lyrindel down and find out how to get this nonsense started. I'd ask him myself, but the urge to punch him might be too much for me. Ah, you know how it is. Orc in a town full of stuck-up Altmer. Same old story. I was in the tavern, washing down a lamb shank with a bottle of wine, minding my own business. Then along comes this beanpole telling me I've got to leave. Why do you think? This island's full of orc haters. Only thing they hate worse than orcs walking the streets is orcs drinking their wine. Lyrindel told me I was stinking up the place, so I told him to yank the stick out of his arse and shove off. He laid into me with everything he had, tongue-lashing me about my tusks, my clothes, my beard. And that's the one that really got my dander up. I put a lot of work into this beard. He ended the whole thing with pig face. Pig face! Damn right! I've been on the receiving end of that one too many times. So now he's going to learn a lesson. Are you kidding me? I could clobber that arseface blindfolded. Yeah, because you know, demolish faces. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? I always wanted a really sharp moniker, like the Hatchet, or Fist of Malakath, or something like that. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, that elf's in big trouble.
Fairly met, never are. To what do I owe this profound pleasure? Oh, for Stendar's sake, that business. I won't apologize for speaking the truth. That orc is an uncivilized, gloveless buffoon. I'd sooner duel a frog or a tea kettle. But if he insists on facing me, I suggest he read our guide to Altmeri culture. He can read, can't he? There's a copy just there on the table. If he meets the preconditions and notifies my second Fandalol, I promise to duel that filthy Glanant at the determined place and time.
Back so soon? He blew you off, didn't he? Oh, what I wouldn't give to knock that smug grin off his face. Let me see. Looks like I need a second. An Altmer dueling foil and Lyrandel's full name to recite before the duel. Want to be my second? It'll be worth your time, trust me. I'm going to lay that elf out like a cheap rug. What do you say? You can pick up an elven dueling foil in town. As for Lyrandel's name, he wouldn't shut up about it. Started with Rumelon, I think. It should be chiseled somewhere in the runes of Torheimcard. Arrange the duel with Fandalol and we'll be all set. I'm going to find a good spot near the runes just west of here for our duel. It's the guards, see? Duels are acceptable between high elves, but when an orc's involved, might make them grumpy enough to step in and stop it. And we can't let that happen.
Hello. Well met, friend.
Greetings, Walker. How good it is to see a fellow newcomer. This one grows tired of serving these dungy high elves. Unclawed dandies make my tail bristle. But my words wander. What can Nadoni do for you? Dueling sword. Yes, a fine selection. This one has just the thing. A needle-sharp blade wrought from the finest glass. I took it from the lord of this house. Do not judge, he pays me. Nothing fair is fair, yes? It can be yours. You drive a hard bargain, Walker. But this one is feeling charitable today. Take this blade.
Trapped. Which one could he possibly be?
The island sprung a leak. Run! First the Queen issues... Suddenly the ground opened, spewing water and strange creatures. They attacked us. Luckily, one of the newcomers, a Khajiit, leaped in and drove them back. Called himself Razumdar.
I have to keep awake. The squad. Justicia Avenue.
I dissected someone.
Fairly met, newcomer. Wait. You're the one who was harassing Lyrindel earlier. I presume you've come to talk about this business with the orc. The ruins, eh? A good enough place as any to put that witless oaf in his place. You do know that Lyrindel has fought and won some 80 duels, don't you? No matter. Lyrindel grudgingly accepts this challenge. We shall meet you near the ruins.
There's my favorite second. Feels like I've been warming these knuckles up for hours. So, what's the story? Just look at this sword. I couldn't kill a squirrel with this thing. And this is a name? Looks like somebody's grocery list. Ah, it doesn't matter. I'll improvise.
I formally present Lyrindel, cherished son of the Nevulurel, to accept the orc Rogazog's challenge. So, ready to watch Lyrindel skewer your friend? Skewer may be too harsh a word. We're only fighting to first blood, of course. But then again, and to whom do you issue this challenge? I'm afraid you'll have to be more specific. Honestly, you can't even muster the brain once again to go on. Oh dear. Now, once more. Pace. Go on. Ah, there we are. Was that really so hard? Lyrindel accepts Rogazog's challenge and stands ready to fight. I trust your thick-headed friend is duly prepared.
Let's get this over with, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that. Come here, fancy pants. Ha! By Malakat, that felt good. You know, I never punched a high elf before. Felt like punching a pillowcase full of pudding. Almost feel bad for the little runt. Almost. Huh. Yeah, normally I'd put on a show, but this was personal. Honestly, I took it easy on him. If I'd really poured it on, he'd be breathing through his ear hole. Anyway, thanks for all the help. You ever need somebody knocked out, you let me know, huh?
hello. Well met, friend.
Pardon, Shisori, but have we met before?
Have you ever seen such creatures? Raz has not. Probably neither have you. You are a newcomer, yes? New to this island of high elves? This one has an eye for such things. And you look capable. So can Raz... Ominous? No, nothing of the sort. Well, maybe a little of the sort. Depends on how things develop. Raz has come to Somerset at the behest of Queen Irene to make sure her decree regarding the opening of the island proceeds as she directed. Ask some questions, determine the mood in Shimmerin, and see how the newcomers are faring. Rumors have reached the Queen, and she is concerned. So Razumdar comes to see what is happening and fight strange creatures. Now Raz is concerned as well. While you ask questions around the city, Raz can take care of some other business. It may or may not involve scratching and clawing. Let's meet near the entrance to Shimmerin. Raz never saw such monsters in his life. They appear related to water, but this one tends to avoid this stuff. That pearl, though, Raz swears it was calling those creatures. A mystery for another time, perhaps. Now, we need to see. As a matter of fact, Raz made a list. Old Newell, a high elf artisan, spoke out. Old Newell complained about it. No. Raz doesn't want to prejudice your investigation. You will find out when you talk to her. The artists like to gather shells along the eastern coast. She uses them to make paints and dyes. True, not enough syllables. Ranul's a Redguard, whose family has lived in Shimmerin for generations. He's a well-respected trader, with a few warehouses along the docks. Talk to him. The Divine Prosecution serves as law-keepers and protectors of social standards. Very persnickety. When rules are broken, they record it in their observation logs. If your name winds up on their list, things get complicated. Something to do with monks and newcomer registration. Raz is looking into that. Last I heard, Soxolza was seen leaving the city and heading west. Probably trying to reach the water. Lizards like water, yes? Not Raz. Nothing at all. Unless you think they came to Somerset because of the Queen's decree. No, that would be ridiculous. Let's not lose focus. Just see what Old Newell, Soxolza, and Ranul have to say about newcomers. We need to confirm while you ask questions around the city, Raz can take care of some other. Raz knows very little about city ordinances or how to tell the difference between mead and ale, so... Keen Lady Avenice has made her views on the Queen's decree quite clear. She calls it unreasonable, dangerous. A few of the city's nobles have sided. She has spoken against it. Now Raz needs to know how far she will go to defy the will of the Queen. Does she grumble but welcome the newcomers, or is she using every option at her disposal to block their arrival? Raz will find out.
I need a break.
A newcomer in the warehouse district. Unusual, but how can I help you today, my friend? The Divine? Who told you that? If a Justiciar sent you to try and trick me into confessing... No. The High Elves would never send a newcomer to perform such a task. But I admit it. I made my thoughts known. I arranged to bring my cousin here to work with me. The ship arrived, but all the newcomers were carted away. For questioning, they said. I complained to the kin lady and anyone else who would listen. And what has it gotten me? Nothing! Oh, my family has been here for generations and generations. Before the Queen's decree, outsiders might have been rare, but we were not unheard of. Our business has grown and gets better every day. That's why I sent for my cousin. We need the help. Somerset is a rare and beautiful jewel in the Abetian Sea. I love it here. The High Elves treat us like children, but they have never been hostile. The Queen's decree has stirred the waters, though. I fear it will get worse before it gets better.
So much to do.
Find your own patch of beach. Not that you'd understand the concept, but the path to Alaxon requires dedication and complete concentration. I must find the perfect shells, or my pigments will be substandard. And do you know what that will do to my art? Exactly. An ultimate is the state of perfection that every high elf strives for. The path to Alaxon represents the approach we take to achieve that state. Now, why have you interrupted my work? I believe in caution as much as the next high elf, but sometimes the rules get in the way of common sense. My apprentice lived here for more than a year. Good help is so hard to find, especially among the newcomers. And she was adept at making that. They took her away. Said they had to scrutinize her qualifications, test her knowledge of culture and etiquette. But I haven't seen her since. My work suffers, so of course I complained to the monks. Now I have to gather my own shells. They told me I could fill out some forms and appeal to the kin lady. But who has time for such bureaucracy? And for a wood elf? I've said too much. I have work to do, and all this aggravation has diverted my path to Alaxon. Perfection requires constant vigilance, so back to it. This is unheard of. Why have you closed the monastery?
Good people, I hear your concerns.
Such anger. Raz never expected to hear such words from the Queen's loyal subjects. The sentiment isn't universal, but enough feel this way for Raz to be concerned. Did you... Sequestered? Just a different word for imprisoned, yes. Ranul's cousin just arrived, but O'Newell's assistant has lived on Somerset since long before the Queen ever issued her decree. What about the lizard? What did Zoxolza have to say? Why would the Aldar gather up newcomers and non-High Elf residents alike and send them to the monastery? Does the King Lady condone this behavior? Raz's head itches, and not in a good way. Our course is clear, Five Claw. We must go to the monastery. Raz admires your enthusiasm, but this one needs you to enter the monastery on your own. Raz has other fish to catch. This one will help you get past the sentry, though. When you notice that the sentry is distracted,
You there! I have a... Damn it, why won't this work?
Did you see a golden knight?
I have no idea what that was, and I'm not sure I want to know.
Sentry! Raz owes you for that game of cards and has come to pay.
Well, I don't recall any... You say I won some gold?
Don't you remember? Raz always pays his debts, and...
No, not now, please. Your spiritual well-being can wait until after my nap. You'll have to ask one of the monks that the new Aldork brought with him. They deal with all the newcomer testing and evaluations. I'm just a simple monk. Again with the questions about the newcomers. Why do you care about the complexities of Altma bureaucracy? Still, if I had to make a guess, I'd say they were taking into the Undercroft for registration and processing. The monastery should be a place of peace and meditation. The Aldork has closed us down until further notice. That means if any of the monks spot you, they'll raise the alarm. Me? I never saw you. Now, if you don't mind, my nap awaits.
Unusual knick-knack for an Aldark's office, wouldn't you agree? I noticed you skulking around while I was engaged in some skulking of my own. I suppose we both came to the monastery with the sequestered newcomers. I came to find out what happened to a friend. I assume that's what brought you here as well? A house of worship shouldn't be interesting. I've never seen anything quite like it. I find it intriguing and a bit disturbing. But we aren't here to discuss curios, strange creatures notwithstanding. We need to find out what's happening with the missing newcomers. The sentry doesn't appear to have stopped you, so I could ask you the same question. Let's just agree that we both have our methods. Curious, but I feel that there's more going on in Shimmerine than the usual politics and community. That's the question, my cautious friend. We have a newly appointed Aldark and a disgruntled kin lady, both opposed to the Queen's decree. What's their connection to the missing newcomers? I was about to explore the Undercroft. A curious pearl. I wonder where the Aldark acquired it. Probably not important. I'll meet you in the Undercroft, and we can see what's going on with the newcomers. Something's wrong down here. I sense magic. Vile magic. Cages? These people did nothing to deserve
Thank the Divines! You aren't one of them. It's a nightmare. We came to Somerset to seek new opportunities. We barely... The monks gathered them a few moments ago and took them through the door on the far side of the chamber. Please, let...
Is that a... scoffin?
Oh, thank you for setting me free.
A Daedra. Here? And that's a scoffin, if I remember my Daedric recitations correctly. Very curious. An excellent question, and one I hope to find the answer to. From the evidence before us, it appears this Nord killed the scoffin before he succumbed to his own wounds. Good for him. I found this key on the creature's belt, so we can open that door. Then I suggest we pick up the pace. We need to determine what's actually happening down here. I'll explain everything later. For now, we need to hurry.
Newcomers? Unfortunately, the magic only affects those who have been prepared. But never fear, your turn
Daedric
will
cultists?
come.
These creatures. The pearl's magic attracts these creatures. Hold them off while I complete my spell. on. Let's talk outside. Those poor people. This wasn't just about newcomers and opposing the Queen's decree. That was Daedric magic back there. I just wish we had arrived a few... I promised to explain what I know. I suppose that now's as... The Sijic Order is an ancient magical monastic society. We served as advisors to the rulers of Tamriel, but that was before we removed our island home from the world. Now this threat has drawn us back. But why are you involved? An Eye of the Queen? Interesting. I diffused the Daedric magic and transported the pearl to Artaeum, the Sijic island, for safekeeping and study, so we can learn more about it. But we can discuss this further once we get out.